Christmas morning started like any other since Margaret passed. I was making coffee when I heard Jennifer whisper to my son David through the heating vent. After New Year's, we put him in Sunset Manor. I already toured it. My hand froze on the coffee pot. David mumbled agreement. They thought I was deaf and useless. I smiled, remembering the security cameras I'd installed last month weren't just for burglars. Sometimes the biggest thieves are the ones who share your blood. The coffee maker gurgled its final drops as I stood there, processing what I'd just heard. My own son plotting with his wife to throw me away like yesterday's garbage. The same boy I'd raised alone after Margaret died when he was 15. I remember those years like they happened yesterday. Working double shifts at the precinct, coming home exhausted but still helping David with algebra homework. Missing my own promotion interviews to attend his baseball games. Selling my father's watch collection to pay for his college tuition when the scholarship fell through. You're going to be somebody special. I'd tell him every night before bed. Somebody who makes a difference. And he did become successful. Harvard Business School thanks to every penny I could scrape together. Investment banking at 30, managing director at 35. The American dream wrapped in a $3,000 suit. When David married Jennifer 3 years ago, I was overjoyed. She seemed perfect for him. Blonde, elegant, from a good Connecticut family. Her smile could light up a room, though lately I'd noticed it never quite reached her eyes when she looked at me. After my heart attack last year, they insisted I move closer. "We want to take care of you, Dad." David had set his hand on my shoulder. Family looks after family. So I sold my 4-bedroom colonial in Westchester, the house where I'd raised him, where Margaret had planted roses that still bloomed every summer. The attached guest house on their property seemed like the perfect solution. I'd have my independence but be close enough for Sunday dinners and holiday gatherings. I even paid them rent. $2,000 a month, which Jennifer said would help with their property taxes. "We're all family here," she'd chirped, depositing my check. "What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine." The first few months were pleasant enough. I'd tend the garden, cook Sunday roasts, tell stories about David's childhood to anyone who'd listen. Jennifer would laugh at all the right moments, though her fingers would drum impatiently on the table when she thought I wasn't looking. Then small things started changing. The mailbox suddenly needed a new lock, and Jennifer kept forgetting to give me a key. "I'll grab your mail for you, Quinn," she'd say. "No need for you to walk all that way." The filing cabinet in David's office sprouted a padlock. "Client confidentiality," he explained when I asked. "You understand, Dad. From your police days." Jennifer's shopping trips became more elaborate. Designer handbags appeared like mushrooms after rain. A new Mercedes replaced her 2-year-old BMW. David got a fantastic bonus. She explained, though I knew bonuses weren't distributed until March. My detective instincts dulled by retirement and grief started tingling again. 35 years on the force teaches you to notice patterns. The way Jennifer's eyes would flick to David whenever I mentioned my investments. How she'd hover when I wrote checks, memorizing my signature. The sudden interest in my health, my medications, my doctor appointments. "Paranoia," I told myself. "You're becoming a suspicious old fool." 2 weeks before Christmas, I climbed the pull-down stairs to the attic to retrieve decorations. Margaret's hand-painted ornaments were stored up there, each one a memory of Christmases past. The attic was dusty, full of shadows and forgotten treasures. That's when I saw it. A banker's box, partially hidden behind old suitcases with my name written on the label in Jennifer's neat script. My hands trembled as I opened it. Investment statements, bank records, legal documents. All mine, though I'd never seen most of them. My Edward Jones portfolio, which should have shown $800,000, reflected a balance of $390,000. Withdrawals every month, each one perfectly timed to avoid triggering alerts. The Fidelity account was worse. $500,000 reduced to barely $100,000. The transactions all bore my signature, but I recognized David's careful penmanship. He'd been practicing, I realized. All those times I'd caught him doodling during phone calls, he'd been perfecting my loops and flourishes. At the bottom of the box, I found the power of attorney document I'd signed before my heart surgery. Standard procedure, the hospital had said. Someone needed to handle my affairs if something went wrong. Who better than my devoted son? The document had been modified. Where it once granted temporary authority for medical decisions, new pages had been inserted. Complete financial control. The ability to sell property, liquidate assets, make gifts. The notary seal looked authentic, but the date was wrong. I'd been in recovery that day, barely conscious. $400,000. Gone. Stolen by the son I'd sacrificed everything to raise and the woman who called me Dad while she counted my money. I carefully photographed each document with my phone, then replaced everything exactly as I'd found it. My hands were steady now. The shock had passed, replaced by something colder. The detective in me had awakened. Climbing down from the attic, I heard Jennifer in the kitchen humming Silver Bells while she prepared lunch. Through the window, I could see David in his office, probably moving more of my money, while his wife kept me distracted. "Find everything you needed?" Jennifer asked, as I entered the kitchen, her smile bright as tinsel. "Oh, yes," I replied, setting the decoration box on the counter. "Found exactly what I was looking for." "Wonderful, I thought we'd do a simple tree this year. Nothing too elaborate." I nodded, thinking of the elaborate theft they'd orchestrated instead. "Sometimes the most impressive things are the ones people don't see coming." She laughed, missing my meaning entirely. "You're so funny, Quinn. David always says you have such a way with words." "Speaking of David," I said casually, "I've been thinking about updating some of my financial plans. Maybe I should sit down with him, get his professional opinion." Her hand stilled on the cutting board for just a moment. "Oh, there's no rush on that. After the holidays would be better. David's swamped with year-end reports." "Of course," I agreed. "After the holidays?" As I walked back to my guest house, Christmas decorations in hand, I thought about trust. How it's given freely but should be earned. How the people we love most can hurt us deepest. How sometimes the shield of age and illness makes others think we're helpless. They were wrong. I'd spent 35 years putting criminals behind bars. I'd solved cases with less evidence than what sat in that attic box. David and Jennifer had made one crucial mistake in their perfect crime. They'd underestimated me. Setting the decorations on my table, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Time to make some calls. Time to remind my son that I didn't raise a thief, even if that's what he'd chosen to become. The game was on, and they didn't even know they were playing. The next morning brought fresh snow and fresh determination. I stood at my window watching David's Tesla pull away for work, while Jennifer headed to her Pilates class. The house would be empty for at least 3 hours. "Security system upgrade," I'd told them over breakfast. "Been meaning to do it since those break-ins over in Riverside." Jennifer had barely looked up from her phone. "Whatever you think is best, Quinn, just try not to make too much noise. I have a spa appointment this afternoon." The equipment arrived via overnight delivery. Nothing fancy, just high-definition cameras small enough to fit in smoke detectors, air vents, and picture frames. My former partner, Mike Chen, had recommended the system. "Same ones we used for the Malone investigation," he'd said. "Crystal clear audio from 30 feet. Audio." Installing them brought back memories. How many surveillance operations had I run over the years? How many criminals had hung themselves with their own words, never knowing they were being watched? The first camera went in the living room, nestled inside the carbon monoxide detector. The second found a home in the kitchen's exhaust fan. David's office required more creativity, but a decorative bookend with a hollow base did the trick. By noon, I had 8 cameras operational, all feeding to an app on my phone and backing up to a cloud server. The video quality impressed me. Technology had come a long way since my days on the force. Jennifer returned home at 2 shopping bags in hand. "Successful trip?" I asked from the kitchen where I was pretending to fix a loose cabinet handle. "Just some last-minute Christmas shopping," she replied, though the Nordstrom bag suggested otherwise. "How's the security project going?" "All finished. These new systems basically install themselves." She glanced around, apparently seeing nothing amiss. "Well, I'm glad you're being proactive about safety. Can't be too careful these days." The irony wasn't lost on me. Over the following days, the cameras proved their worth. I watched from my guest house as Jennifer rifled through my mail before bringing it over. Saw her photographing my checkbook when she thought I was napping. Caught her on the phone with someone she called Honey, who definitely wasn't David. But the real revelations came at night. David would arrive home late, and they'd sit at the kitchen table with wine and spreadsheets. Their conversations painted a picture of calculated greed. "The Sunset Manor deposit is $20,000, Jennifer said one evening, pointing at her laptop screen. "But they have a waiting list. I told them he has moderate dementia getting worse." David frowned. "He seems pretty sharp to me." "That's why we need Dr. Morrison. He owes me a favor from the Greenwald case. He'll write whatever diagnosis we need." "And you're sure the house transfer will hold up?" Jennifer's laugh was cold. "My brother's handled dozens of these. Once Quinn's declared incompetent, we can sell as his guardians. The buyer's already interested." "How much?" "1.2 million cash offer." David whistled low. "And he bought it for 700,000, plus all the improvements he made. The market's been kind to us." They clinked glasses while I watched from my phone, bile rising in my throat. The house where they lived, where they plotted my disposal, was mine. Every brick, every board, every blade of grass. December 15th brought the most damaging recording yet. Jennifer was in David's office papers spread across the desk. She'd found my coin collection inventory. "Holy shit," she breathed. "These Liberty Eagles are worth 40,000 each. He has 6 of them." David peered over her shoulder. "Plus the Morgan dollars, the double Eagles. We're looking at 200,000 minimum. Already found a buyer in the city. Cash deal, no questions asked. We'll say he sold them himself before going into the home. Mental patients do impulsive things." "Speaking of which," David pulled out a folder. "I've been practicing his signature. Look at this." He signed my name with flourishes identical to mine. Hours of practice had paid off. Even I could barely tell the difference. "Perfect," Jennifer approved. "With the power of attorney and these signatures, we can clean out everything before New Year's." "What about Uncle Frank and Aunt Susan? They'll ask questions." Jennifer waved dismissively. "Your family barely visits. By the time anyone notices, he'll be drooling in a nursing home and we'll have medical documentation proving he was incompetent. Who's going to believe a senile old man over his loving caretakers?" The recording captured something else that night. The sound of Jennifer's phone buzzing, her quick glance at David, her hushed conversation in the bathroom. "I miss you too," she whispered. "Just 2 more weeks and we'll have everything. Then it's just you and me." David, oblivious in the office, continued forging my signature on blank checks. December 20th arrived gray and bitter. I was reviewing the recordings when I caught Jennifer on a call that changed everything. She was in the garage thinking she was safe from ears. Dr. Morrison confirmed December 27th. She said, "He'll come to the house, do a cognitive assessment. Quinn will fail spectacularly. Yes, I have the medication that causes confusion. Untraceable clears the system in 12 hours. The commitment papers are ready. Sunset Manor expects him by the 28th. My blood chilled. They weren't just planning to steal from me. They were going to drug me, have me declared incompetent by a corrupt doctor, and lock me away before New Year's Eve. But Jennifer wasn't done. Once he's committed, you can move forward with the house sale. The LLC is set up right good, and Tommy. Afterward, we'll talk about David. He's becoming a liability. Tommy." So that was the boyfriend's name. Plot within plot, betrayal within betrayal. She was planning to dispose of David once my assets were secured. My son was both perpetrator and future victim. That evening I made dinner for all of us. Pot roast with Margaret's recipe, the one David had loved as a child. As we ate, I studied them. Jennifer's practiced charm, David's distracted greed. Neither noticed my scrutiny. "This is delicious, Quinn," Jennifer said. "You'll have to write down the recipe." "Already did," I replied. "It's in my recipe box along with everything else that matters." David looked up sharply, perhaps sensing a double meaning, but I simply smiled and passed the potatoes. After they left, I sat in my small living room surrounded by the evidence I'd gathered. Hours of recordings, financial documents, proof of their elaborate scheme. But something was missing. Jennifer's past remained a mystery. Time to dig deeper. I pulled out my laptop and began searching. Jennifer Hartley Mitchell, maiden name, supposedly Hartley. From Greenwich, Connecticut. Graduated from Sarah Lawrence. All the right credentials. Too right. Using old police databases I could still access, I found discrepancies. No Jennifer Hartley graduated from Sarah Lawrence in her claimed year. The Greenwich address she'd given belonged to a parking garage. Her social security number had only been active for 5 years. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number: "Stop digging or you'll regret it." I smiled grimly. Someone was watching me watch them. Good. Let them sweat. I texted back, "Too late for regrets. See you at Christmas dinner." No response came, but I didn't need one. The game had escalated. They thought they were hunters, but they'd just revealed themselves as prey. Looking at Margaret's photo on my mantle, I made a promise. "I'll handle this, sweetheart. Our son lost his way, but justice has a way of finding people. It just needs a little help sometimes." The cameras kept recording. The evidence kept mounting. And Christmas kept coming, bringing with it a reckoning they'd never see coming. The morning of December 21st dawned crisp and clear. I sat in my kitchen, phone in hand, staring at a contact I hadn't called in 2 years. Detective Sarah Coleman, now heading the Financial Crimes Division. We'd worked together for 15 years before my retirement. If anyone could help me navigate this mess, it would be her. Quinn Mitchell. Her voice hadn't changed. Still sharp. Still warm. "I thought you'd fallen off the face of the earth." "Just been laying low, Sarah. Listen, I need your help. Can you meet me somewhere private?" "That sounds ominous. Everything okay?" "No," I admitted. "No, it's not." We met at a diner in White Plains, far enough from home that Jennifer's network wouldn't spot us. Sarah looked good, her auburn hair now touched with silver laugh lines, deeper, but eyes still keen. "You look like hell," she said bluntly, sliding into the booth across from me. "Wait until you see why." I laid it all out. The theft, the recordings, the planned commitment. Sarah's expression darkened with each revelation. When I played her the audio of Jennifer discussing the drugging plan, she nearly knocked over her coffee. "Jesus Christ, Quinn, your own son. The money corrupted him. Or maybe Jennifer did, maybe both." She pulled out her notebook, all business now. "This is criminal conspiracy, elder abuse, fraud, attempted kidnapping. We're talking serious federal charges." "I don't want to destroy him, Sarah. He's still my son." Her hand covered mine. "He destroyed himself the moment he signed those forged documents. You're just holding up a mirror." We spent 3 hours building a strategy. Sarah would open an official investigation, but quietly. No alerts that might tip off Jennifer or David. Meanwhile, I had work to do. My first stop was Marcus Thompson's law office. Marcus had handled Margaret's estate and knew our family history. His reaction to my story was pure professional outrage. "They modified a power of attorney while you were unconscious. That alone is worth 5 years in prison. Can you stop it?" "Already drafting the revocation. We'll file it December 26th after Christmas. Don't want to alert them early." He adjusted his glasses, thinking. "We should also create an irrevocable trust for your remaining assets. Lock everything down tight." "Do it." "There's something else," Marcus said carefully. If Jennifer's identity is fake, we need to know who she really is. I know someone who might help. That someone turned out to be Robert Kelly, a private investigator who looked like an accountant, but had the instincts of a bloodhound. We met in Marcus's conference room that afternoon. Jennifer Hartley Mitchell, he mused, studying her photo. Pretty, polished, perfect, usually means trouble. Can you find out who she really is? Give me 48 hours. While the professionals worked their angles, I had my own preparations to make. First, I moved my remaining liquid assets. The accounts Jennifer and David didn't know about went into the new trust. My safety deposit box contents found a new home at a different bank. The coin collection required more finesse. I couldn't move it without raising suspicions, but I could document everything. High-resolution photos of each piece, certification numbers, appraisals. All sent to Sarah and Marcus for safekeeping. December 22nd brought Robert Kelly back with a thick folder and grim expression. Your daughter-in-law is quite the piece of work, he began. Real name's Patricia Ann Morse, 34 years old, originally from Newark. She's got a pattern. He spread out documents like dealing cards. Married Walter Greenwald in Philadelphia 6 years ago. 72-year-old widower died of a heart attack 3 months after the wedding. She inherited everything. Except what? His children contested the will. During the legal battle, some interesting facts emerged. Patricia had been married before, to Eugene Kraft in Harrisburg, another elderly widower who died suddenly. Another contested inheritance. My stomach turned. How many times? At least 3 that I can confirm. She changes her name, creates new identities, moves to new states. Always targets lonely widowers with money. Always has a medical accomplice. Dr. Morrison, by the way, lost his license in New Jersey 5 years ago. Guess who he was dating at the time? The pieces clicked together. Patricia, they're a team. Gets better. The boyfriend she's cheating with Thomas Morrison, the doctor's son, also her stepson from marriage number 2. They've been running this con together for years. I stared at the evidence of Patricia's, criminal history. My son hadn't just married a gold digger, he'd married a professional predator. And somehow she'd turned him into an accomplice. There's more, Robert continued. She's wanted in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Never been caught because she keeps changing identities. But the FBI has a file. They just haven't connected Jennifer Mitchell to Patricia Morse. Yet. Send everything to Detective Coleman, I instructed, and make copies for my lawyer. December 23rd was preparation day. I called David suggesting we have a big Christmas gathering. I want all the family together, I told him. Might be my last Christmas in the house. He jumped at that bait. Of course, Dad. Anyone specific you want to invite? Everyone. Your Uncle Frank, Aunt Susan, the cousins. Oh, and invite your boss. Richard Hartman, right? I'd love to meet him. Maybe Jennifer's parents, too. A pause. Jennifer's parents are traveling. Europe. Of course they were. Because they didn't exist. Well, invite anyone you'd like. I want a full house. I'm planning something special. What kind of special? A surprise, you'll see. The invitation list grew to 30 people. David seemed puzzled by my enthusiasm, but went along. Jennifer appeared delighted, probably thinking I was making her job easier by gathering witnesses to my supposed decline. That evening, I had dinner with my nephew, Marcus Jr. Frank's son. He'd always been a good kid now, a successful contractor who'd helped renovate my guest house. Uncle Quinn, you seem energized lately. He observed over steaks. Just preparing for change, I said. Big changes coming. Good changes. Cleansing ones. Sometimes you have to clear out the rot before you can rebuild. Marcus studied me. Unlike David, he'd inherited the family intuition. Anything I can help with? Just be at Christmas dinner, and maybe have your phone ready to record. You won't want to miss the speech I'm planning. December 24th, Christmas Eve. The trap was set the players in position. Sarah had assembled a team ready to move on my signal. Robert Kelly had confirmed Patricia's accomplice was in town, registered at a motel under an assumed name. Marcus Thompson had all the legal documents prepared. I spent the morning in the main house helping Jennifer prepare for tomorrow's gathering. She played the devoted daughter-in-law, perfectly humming carols while arranging flowers. "Quinn, you're such a help," she gushed. "I don't know what we'd do without you." "You'll find out soon enough," I said mildly. She laughed, missing the warning entirely. "You're so funny. David always says you have a dark sense of humor. Comes with the territory. 35 years of seeing the worst in people." "But not anymore," she said brightly. "Now you can just relax and enjoy retirement." "Oh, I'm enjoying it immensely. Best show I've seen in years." That afternoon, while Jennifer supervised catering deliveries, I made final preparations in my guest house. The video compilation was ready edited into a devastating narrative. Every crime, every confession, every damning word captured in high definition. As evening fell, snow began drifting down. Picture-perfect Christmas Eve. David arrived home early, stressed about tomorrow's gathering. "Dad, are you sure about this party? It's a lot of people." "Trust me, son, it'll be memorable." He studied me with Jennifer's calculating look. When had he learned that expression? When had my boy become a stranger? "Just try not to overdo it, with your health." "I'll pace myself," I assured him. "Wouldn't want to miss my own party." That night I couldn't sleep. Not from anxiety, but from anticipation. Tomorrow would bring pain, yes, the final severing of bonds already broken. But it would also bring justice. And in my experience, justice delayed made its arrival all the sweeter. I stood at my window watching the snow fall on my house. My house, not theirs. By tomorrow night, they'd understand the difference. The stage was set, the actors were ready. Time for the final act. Christmas Eve morning arrived with a deceptive calm. I woke early, made coffee, and reviewed my plan one final time. Everything hinged on playing my role perfectly. The doddering old man sliding into senility, ready to be discarded. At breakfast, I gave them the performance of a lifetime. "David," I said, pausing with my fork halfway to my mouth. "Remind me, what day is it?" Jennifer and David exchanged quick glances across their kitchen table. "It's Christmas Eve, Dad," David said slowly. "Oh, right. Christmas Eve." I stared at my eggs as if confused. "Your mother loved Christmas Eve. She'd make those cookies. What were they called?" "Snickerdoodles." David supplied, though Margaret had never made snickerdoodles in her life. Her specialty was ginger snaps. "That's right," I agreed. "Snickerdoodles. Is she coming to dinner tomorrow?" Jennifer reached across the table, patting my hand with fake sympathy. "Quinn, honey, Margaret passed away years ago. Remember?" I blinked rapidly, letting my eyes go unfocused. "She did. Oh, yes, the cancer." "Heart attack," David corrected gently. "Right, heart attack." I pushed eggs around my plate, then suddenly brightened. "But everyone else is coming tomorrow, Frank and Susan." "Yes, Dad, everyone's coming." Good. I have something important to tell everyone." I leaned forward conspiratorially. "About the money." Jennifer's hand tightened on her coffee mug. "What about the money, Quinn?" "I've been thinking," I said slowly, as if working through fog. "Maybe I should update my will. Make sure everything's in order. Before..." "Before what?" David prompted. I waved vaguely. "Before I forget where I put it. The will, I mean. Or was it the trust? I get confused." They practically glowed with satisfaction. I was serving myself up on a silver platter. "We can help with that," Jennifer offered smoothly. "After the holidays. No need to worry about it now." "You're right," I agreed. "You two always know best. I'm lucky to have you taking care of me." The rest of the day I maintained the act. I called Frank twice, forgetting I'd already spoken to him. I misplaced my reading glasses 3 times, finding them on my head each time. I even managed to look bewildered by the television remote. "Should we call Dr. Morrison?" Jennifer suggested to David during lunch, thinking I couldn't hear from the living room. "Maybe move up the appointment?" "No." David decided. Stick to the plan. We don't want to seem too eager. Around 3 o'clock, I made my biggest play. I wandered into David's office where he was working on his laptop. Son, I've been thinking about the house. He looked up sharply. What about it? Maybe you're right. Maybe it's too much for me. All these rooms, all these memories. I sighed heavily. If I moved somewhere, simpler, you and Jennifer could have it properly. Raise a family here. David's eyes gleamed. That's very generous, Dad. Family home should stay in the family, I continued. I could sign it over while I still can. Would that make you happy? Dad, He actually looked emotional. For a moment, I saw my little boy again, the one who'd cried when his goldfish died. Then Jennifer appeared in the doorway, and the moment passed. What's going on? She asked. Dad's thinking about the house, David told her. He wants to sign it over to us. Jennifer's smile could have lit up Times Square. Oh, Quinn, that's so thoughtful, but there's no rush. We want what's best for you. What's best for me is knowing you're taken care of, I said, adding a small tremor to my voice. Could we do it soon? I worry I'll forget. After Christmas, Jennifer said firmly. Let's just enjoy the holiday first. I nodded, shuffling back to my chair. Behind me, I heard Jennifer whisper to David, This is perfect. He's practically begging us to take everything. The afternoon wore on, with more strategic confusion. I set the table for 8 when we were expecting 30. I asked Jennifer twice if she'd seen my mother who'd been dead for 20 years. I even pretended to forget David's name once, calling him Daniel. Getting worse fast. Jennifer murmured to someone on the phone around 5. Yes, Thursday's appointment is critical. He's deteriorating daily. As evening approached, Jennifer started her Christmas Eve tradition of making hot cocoa. I watched from my chair as she prepared 3 mugs, adding marshmallows to David's whipped cream to hers. Mine got something extra, a small white powder. She shook from a prescription bottle when she thought I wasn't looking. Here you go, Quinn, she said sweetly, handing me the mug. Special Christmas Eve cocoa. Smells wonderful, I said, taking a careful sip. I'd seen her preparation in the reflection of the microwave door, though it tastes a bit off. It's a new brand, she said quickly. Organic. Ah, I took another small sip, then set it aside. I'm not very thirsty. Maybe later. Frustration flashed across her face before she recovered. Of course, whenever you're ready. Around 8 o'clock, I started nodding off in my chair. Not from any drug, but from pure theatrical timing. Jennifer nudged David, gesturing at me. Look at him, she said softly. By next Christmas, he won't even remember our names. It's sad, David said, and for a moment he sounded genuinely troubled. It's life, Jennifer countered. At least this way his assets will be protected, in the right hands. I let out a small snore, and they moved to the kitchen, speaking more freely. Tommy texted, Jennifer said. The closing can happen January 5th if we're ready. That fast? Cash buyer. No financing delays. 1.2 million David, plus his portfolios, the coins, everything else. We're set for life. And he really won't fight it from the nursing home. Jennifer's laugh was cold. With Dr. Morrison's diagnosis, he could scream fraud from the rooftops and no one would believe him. Dementia patients often have delusions of persecution. They continued planning while I slept, discussing how they'd renovate the master bedroom, which cars they'd buy, where they'd vacation. Neither mentioned what would happen to me after Sunset Manor. I don't think they cared. At 10 o'clock, I stirred, blinking confusedly. Oh, did I fall asleep? It's getting late, Dad, David said. Why don't you head back to your place big day tomorrow? I stood slowly, deliberately, unsteady. Jennifer took my elbow, guiding me to the door. Thank you, dear, I said, patting her hand. You're so good to me, both of you. We love you, Quinn, she lied smoothly. Sleep well. Walking back to my guest house, I saw the fresh snow covering my footprints from earlier. By morning, there would be no trace of my coming and going. How poetic. By morning, Jennifer and David's plans would be just as thoroughly buried. Inside, I checked my phone. Messages from Sarah, Marcus, Robert, Kelly. Everyone was ready. The stage was set for tomorrow's performance. I poured out the drugged cocoa, watching it swirl down the drain. Then I made myself a proper cup sitting by my window to watch the snow fall. Somewhere in town, Patricia's accomplice was probably counting his future profits. David and Jennifer were likely in bed dreaming of their stolen fortune. Merry Christmas Eve, I said to the falling snow. Enjoy your last night of freedom. Tomorrow would bring revelations. Tomorrow would bring justice. Tonight, I just sat and remembered better Christmases when my son still had a soul worth saving. Christmas morning dawned brilliant and cold. I stood at my window watching the sunrise paint the snow-covered landscape gold. Today was the day. After weeks of preparation, justice would finally be served. I dressed carefully. My best suit, the charcoal gray Margaret had bought me for our 40th anniversary. Gold cufflinks that had belonged to my father. I wanted to look sharp, competent, anything but the confused old man they expected to shuffle to his doom. The main house buzzed with activity by 9 o'clock. Catering staff arranged platters while Jennifer barked orders with military precision. She wore a red designer dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. My money, I thought grimly. Quinn, Merry Christmas. She air-kissed my cheek perfume, overwhelming. You look wonderful. Did you remember to take your medications? Every single one, I assured her truthfully. My blood pressure pills, my cholesterol medication. Nothing she'd slipped me, certainly. Wonderful. Now why don't you sit in the living room? Guests will start arriving soon. I took my designated chair, the one facing the new 70-inch television they'd bought with my stolen funds. Perfect positioning for what was to come. Frank and Susan arrived first, bearing presents and concerned expressions. My brother had noticed my supposed decline during our phone calls. Quinn, how are you feeling? Frank asked, studying me closely. Better than I have in months, I said honestly. Today's going to be memorable. Next came the cousins, aunts, uncles, family friends. David's boss, Richard Hartman, arrived precisely at noon, checking his Rolex as he entered. A man who valued punctuality. Good. He wouldn't want to miss the show. Mr. Mitchell, he said, shaking my hand firmly. David speaks highly of you. Does he? I smiled. I'm curious what stories he tells. Jennifer had arranged place cards for dinner, positioning me at the far end of the table. The confused grandfather easily ignored. I didn't protest, simply helped pour drinks and listened to conversations. David held court near the fireplace, regaling Hartman with investment strategies. The key is knowing when someone's assets are underperforming, he said. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions for people who can't make them anymore. Interesting philosophy, Hartman mused, though ethics committees might have opinions on that. Ethics adapt to circumstances, David replied smoothly. I caught Marcus Jr. watching me. My nephew had noticed the disparity between my confused phone calls and my current alertness. I winked at him. He raised his glass slightly in acknowledgement. By 2 o'clock, all 30 guests had assembled. The house overflowed with laughter, conversation, the clink of glasses. Jennifer glowed in her element, the perfect hostess, spending my money on her perfect party. Before we sit for dinner, I announced, standing slowly, I'd like to share something special. The room quieted. David and Jennifer exchanged quick glances. You all know I'm getting older, I continued. Memory isn't what it was, but Christmas is about family, about truth, about revelation. So I've prepared a little presentation. Call it a Christmas story. Dad. David started. Maybe we should eat first. No, this won't take long. 20 minutes at most. Jennifer, would you help me with the television? She couldn't refuse without seeming ungracious. The huge screen flickered to life, mirroring my phone. "I've been documenting this year," I said. "Capturing memories before they fade. Some of you are in this video. I hope you'll find it illuminating." The first image appeared a family photo from last Christmas. David, Jennifer, and me smiling by the tree. 1 year ago, I narrated, "A happy family, or so it seemed." The video shifted. Security footage from my kitchen dated 3 weeks ago. Jennifer's voice filled the room. "After New Year's, we put him in Sunset Manor. I already toured it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jennifer's face drained of color. "Dad, what is this?" David stood reaching for my phone. "Sit down, son, we're just getting started." The video continued. Jennifer rifling through my mail, David practicing my signature. Their late-night planning sessions, every damning word crystal clear. "The Sunset Manor deposit is $20,000, Jennifer's recorded voice said. "But they have a waiting list. I told them he has moderate dementia getting worse." Frank's face darkened. Susan covered her mouth. Richard Hartman pulled out his phone, quietly typing. The footage rolled on relentlessly. The forged signatures, the stolen money, the coin collection scheme. Jennifer's affair played out in devastating detail, her whispered, "I love you too," to another man, causing David to stagger. That's edited," Jennifer stammered. "Quinn's confused, he doesn't understand technology." "Really?" I clicked to the next clip. "Then explain this." December 20th. Jennifer in the garage. Dr. Morrison confirmed December 27th. He'll come to the house, do a cognitive assessment. Quinn will fail spectacularly. Yes, I have the medication that causes confusion. The room erupted. Accusations, denials, shocked exclamations. But I wasn't done. "There's more," I said calmly. "Jennifer, would you like to tell everyone your real name, or should I?" She stood frozen, trapped between flight and fight. "Patricia Ann Morse," I announced. "Wanted in Pennsylvania and New Jersey for elder fraud. Married 3 times to elderly men who died mysteriously. Working with her accomplice Thomas Morrison to steal my assets and have me committed." "You're insane, Jennifer," Patricia shrieked. "This is all lies, David, tell them." But David wasn't listening. He stared at the screen, which now showed bank records. $400,000 in transfers, each bearing his forged signature. "My God," Richard Hartman said quietly. "David, did you steal from your own father?" The doorbell rang before David could answer. I smiled, checking my watch. "Right on time." "That would be my final Christmas surprise," I said. "Jennifer, why don't you get the door? I believe your guests have arrived." She didn't move. Couldn't move. So Marcus Jr. opened the door, revealing Detective Sarah Coleman, 2 FBI agents, and 4 uniformed officers. Patricia Ann Morse. Sarah announced, "You're under arrest for interstate fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit elder abuse." The room exploded into chaos. Patricia tried to run only to be caught by an agent. She screamed obscenities, her perfect mask finally shattering completely. David Mitchell. Sarah continued, "You're also under arrest for fraud, forgery, and financial elder abuse." "Dad," David turned to me, tears streaming. "Dad, please, I'm your son. Tell them it's a mistake." "The only mistake," I said quietly, "was trusting you with my love." As they led David away in handcuffs, he looked back one final time. "She made me do it," he pleaded. "She manipulated me." "No," I corrected. "She revealed who you really were." The remaining guests stood in shocked silence as the police cars pulled away. Frank approached me first, pulling me into a fierce hug. "Jesus, Quinn, why didn't you tell me?" "Had to play it out," I explained. "Needed ironclad evidence." Marcus Jr. still had his phone out, having recorded everything. "Uncle Quinn, that was incredible. I'm so sorry this happened to you." Richard Hartman approached, his expression grim. "Mr. Mitchell, I need to ask, Are there any other improprieties I should know about at the firm? You'll want to audit David's client accounts, I suggested. If he'd steal from his father. Hartman paled, already making calls as he left. The catered dinner sat untouched, a feast for ghosts. One by one, the guests departed, offering condolences, support promises to visit. Soon, only family remained. What happens now? Susan asked softly. Now, I looked around the house that had nearly become my prison. Now I sell this place and start over, somewhere without memories of betrayal. You could stay with us, Frank offered immediately. We have room. I appreciate that, I said, but I need to find my own path. I'm thinking somewhere warm, maybe near the ocean. What about David? Susan asked. David made his choices. Now he lives with them. I moved to the window, watching snow fall on empty driveways. I'll always love the boy he was, but that boy is gone. Marcus Jr. helped me gather the evidence boxes, the recordings, the documents. Everything would go to the prosecutors, ensuring Patricia and David faced the full weight of justice. As I walked back to my guest house, I passed the for sale sign I'd posted that morning. The real estate agent had nearly fainted when I'd called on Christmas Eve, but the commission convinced her to work the holiday. Inside, I found a message from Sarah Coleman. Thomas Morrison arrested at the motel. Full confession. He's rolling on Patricia for a plea deal. Another text, this one, from Marcus Thompson. Judge signed emergency asset freeze. Every penny they stole is protected. I poured myself a scotch, the good stuff I'd hidden from Jennifer's greedy hands, and raised a toast to the empty room. Merry Christmas, Margaret, I said. I kept my promise. Justice is served. Outside, snow continued falling, covering the tracks of police cars and shattered dreams. By morning, it would all be clean and white and new. Just like my future. The day after Christmas arrived with a media storm. Someone, probably Marcus Jr.'s recording, had leaked to the press. By noon, news vans lined our quiet street like vultures at a feast. Local investment banker arrested for elder fraud, screamed the headlines. Fake heiress exposed in Christmas Day sting. I kept my curtains drawn and phone off, focusing on the stream of investigators who needed statements. FBI, state police, adult protective services, they all wanted their piece of the story. Sarah Coleman coordinated the chaos from my kitchen table. Patricia's lawyer is already bargaining, she reported. Turns out she's got a lot to trade. Like what? Like 12 other victims across 6 states. She kept records, Quinn. Names, amounts, methods. The FBI's having a field day. That afternoon, Patricia's accomplice, Thomas Morrison, proved equally talkative. Facing 20 years, he sang like a canary with its tail on fire. He's confirming everything, the lead FBI agent told me. The drugs they planned to use on you, the corrupt doctor, even 3 murders they staged as natural deaths. Patricia's looking at life without parole. And David? The agent's expression softened slightly. Your son's cooperating fully. Claims he was manipulated, which might be partially true. Patricia's apparently quite skilled at psychological manipulation. He still chose to steal from me. Yes, the agent agreed. He did. The next bombshell dropped that evening. Richard Hartman called, his voice tight with controlled fury. We've completed our emergency audit, he said. David embezzled from 3 client accounts, $200,000 total. We're covering the losses, but his career is over. His career? His licenses? His reputation? Everything. We're also pressing charges. I'm sorry, Quinn. I know he's your son. He stopped being my son the day he forged my signature. Day 3 brought revelations about the house sale. The supposed cash buyer was another of Patricia's aliases, a shell company designed to flip properties bought under duress. The FBI traced 6 similar transactions, all following the same pattern: elderly victim, fake diagnosis. Quick sale, massive profit. Your house was next, Sarah explained. They had contractors lined up to renovate and flip it for double. Patricia was quite the entrepreneur, evil but efficient. I'd already moved forward with my own sale, but to legitimate buyers, A young family with 3 kids who reminded me of better days. They'd offered asking price and promised to maintain Margaret's garden. "We'll take good care of it, Mr. Mitchell." The wife had said, her baby sleeping against her shoulder. "It feels like a home full of love." It was, I'd told her. Once, January 2nd arrived with David's first call from county jail. I'd been expecting it, dreading it, preparing for it. When my phone rang from the detention center, I almost didn't answer. Then I remembered I'd raised him to face consequences, even if he'd forgotten the lesson. "Dad," his voice sounded young, scared. "Dad, are you there?" "I'm here." "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. She got in my head, made everything seem reasonable." "David," I interrupted. "Stop." "What?" "Stop blaming her. Yes, she manipulated you. Yes, she's a professional criminal. But you made choices. Every forged signature, every stolen dollar, every lie you told me. Those were your choices." Silence on the line. Then quietly, "I know." "Do you?" "Because I don't think you do. You didn't steal from some abstract entity, David. You stole from the man who worked double shifts to buy your baseball glove, who sold his father's watch to pay for your college, who sat by your bedside for 3 days when you had pneumonia." "Dad, please." "I'm not done. You plotted to lock me in a nursing home. Do you understand that you were going to drug me, declare me incompetent, and throw me away like garbage? Your mother would be devastated." He was crying now, ugly sobs that reminded me of when he was 7 and broke Mom's vase. But he wasn't 7 anymore. "I'll testify for you," I said finally. "I'll tell the court about Patricia's manipulation, ask for leniency, but that's all I can do." "What about after when I get out?" I closed my eyes, feeling every one of my 68 years. "I don't know, David. Trust is like a mirror. Once broken, even if you piece it back together, you still see the cracks." "I understand," he whispered. "I love you, Dad." "I love the boy you were," I replied. "Maybe someday I can love the man you become." The trial preparations consumed January. I gave depositions, reviewed evidence, met with prosecutors. Patricia had hired a shark lawyer who tried every trick to discredit me. "Isn't it true, Mr. Mitchell, that you've been showing signs of confusion?" he asked during one session. Only the confusion any reasonable person would feel discovering his son and daughter-in-law were master criminals. I shot back. The prosecutor showed me Patricia's full history. The photos of her victims broke my heart. Elderly men trusting and alone who died mysteriously after signing over their estates. I could have been victim number 4. "She's pure predator," the prosecutor said. "No conscience, no remorse. Your recordings are the key to stopping her forever." Meanwhile, life moved forward. I closed on my house sale in mid-January, watching strangers carry boxes into rooms filled with memories. The young couple's children ran through Margaret's garden laughing. Maybe that was enough. I found a condo in Sarasota overlooking the Gulf. 2 bedrooms in case Frank and Susan visited. A small balcony where I could watch sunsets and try to forget. The moving truck pulled away on January 30th, leaving me standing in the empty guest house. Tomorrow I'd fly to Florida to warmth and new beginnings. But today, I had one last task. I drove to the cemetery where Margaret lay. Snow covered her headstone, which I carefully brushed clean. "It's done, sweetheart," I told her. "Justice served just like I promised. David's going to prison probably for 5 years. The woman who corrupted him will die behind bars. I saved the house from them and most of the money." Wind rustled through bare trees. I like to think it was her listening. "I'm moving to Florida, somewhere you always wanted to visit but we never found time. I'll watch sunsets for both of us." I placed fresh roses by her stone red as Christmas red as blood. I failed him somehow. I admitted. Failed to teach him that money isn't worth your soul. That family isn't about what you can take but what you give. I'm sorry, Margaret. I'm so sorry I couldn't save our boy. The drive back took me past the county jail. I didn't stop. David had made his choices. Now we all lived with the consequences. That night, Sarah Coleman called with final updates. Patricia took a deal. Life without parole. She gave up her entire network, including the corrupt doctors and lawyers who helped her. And Thomas Morrison. 25 years. The murders pushed it into federal territory. Good. Quinn, are you okay? Really okay? I considered the question. My son was in jail. My daughter-in-law never existed. My home was sold. My trust shattered. I'm alive, I said finally. I'm free. I have my dignity and most of my assets. That's more than Patricia's other victims got. That's not what I asked. I know, I admitted. Ask me again in a year. She promised to visit me in Florida. We both knew she wouldn't. Some connections were too tied to trauma to survive. That last night I sat in my empty guest house surrounded by suitcases and silence. Tomorrow would bring sunshine and strangers. Tonight, I had only memories and might-have-beens. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus Jr. Uncle Quinn, you're the strongest man I know. Don't let them steal your future, too. Sound advice from the next generation. I'd try to follow it. The clock struck midnight. January 31st had arrived. Time to leave the past behind, carrying only its lessons. I'd learned the hard way that family could betray you, that love could be weaponized, that trust was a luxury I could no longer afford. But I'd also learned I was stronger than I knew, smarter than they assumed, that justice, while sometimes delayed, could still be devastating. Small comfort for a broken heart, but comfort nonetheless. 3 months later, I stood on my balcony in Sarasota, watching the sun paint the Gulf of Mexico gold. The Florida warmth had worked its way into my bones, easing aches I'd forgotten weren't permanent. A dolphin pod played in the distance, their joy infectious even from here. My phone rang. The caller ID showed the federal detention center where David awaited sentencing. Hello, David. Hi, Dad. His voice sounded different, older, humbled. I wanted you to know the sentencing is tomorrow. I know, I sent a letter to the judge. You did, hope crept into his tone. I told him about the boy who donated his birthday money to homeless shelters, who stayed up all night helping his friend study for the SATs, who cried when we had to put down Rex. Silence. Then, thank you. I also told him that boy was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize, someone who chose greed over family. Dad, the prosecutor says you'll likely get 3 to 5 years. With good behavior, maybe 2. My lawyer thinks the judge might consider house arrest given my cooperation. I watched a sailboat drift across the horizon. David, you need to hear this. Really hear it. You're going to prison. Not because Patricia manipulated you. Not because you fell in love with the wrong woman. You're going to prison because you stole from your father, because you plotted to have me locked away, because you chose money over morality. I know, he whispered. Do you? Because your lawyer called me yesterday, wanted me to testify that you were under Patricia's spell, not responsible for your actions. That's not taking responsibility, David. That's looking for another escape. What should I do? Stand up tomorrow. Look the judge in the eye. Say, I did this. I chose this. I'm sorry and I accept the consequences. Then serve your time and figure out who you want to be when you get out. Will you be there at the sentencing? I'd wrestled with this for weeks. Part of me wanted to see justice served. Another part couldn't bear to watch my son in shackles. No, I said finally. I've seen enough, but Frank will be there. He promised to represent the family. I understand. His voice broke. Dad, I know I've lost the right to ask, but do you think you'll ever forgive me? I closed my eyes, feeling the warm breeze on my face. I forgave you the day you were arrested, David. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean trust. It means I've let go of the anger so it doesn't poison my remaining years. That's something, I guess. It's all I have to give right now. We said goodbye probably for a long while, maybe forever. I'd made peace with both possibilities. The next morning brought news of the sentencing via Frank's text. 4 years federal prison, 2 years supervised release, full restitution ordered. Fair, I thought. Enough time to reflect, not so much that rehabilitation became impossible. Patricia's sentencing had been swifter. Life without parole, as promised. The families of her previous victims had testified via video link, their pain raw and real. Justice served, but those men remained dead, their final years stolen by a predator in pearls. Life in Sarasota developed its own rhythm. Morning walks on the beach hunting for shells Margaret would have loved. Afternoon reading in the shade, working through books I'd always meant to finish. Evening dinners at the marina watching boats return with the day's catch. I'd joined a golf club more for companionship than love of the game. The other retirees had their own stories of family drama, though none quite matched mine. My kid emptied my bank account for crypto, one said over beers. Mine convinced me to invest in their restaurant, another added. 3 restaurants, actually, all failed. We were a club of the betrayed finding solidarity in shared disappointment. Sarah Coleman kept her promise to visit arriving in early May with sunscreen and skepticism about Florida. It's too hot, she complained, then spent 6 hours by the pool. We caught up over stone crabs and key lime pie. She'd been promoted partly due to the Patricia Morse case. Biggest elder fraud bust in state history, she said. You're famous in law enforcement circles. The fame I always wanted, I replied dryly. How are you really doing, Quinn? I considered the question. I sleep through the night now. I don't check my bank statements obsessively. I can think about David without my chest tightening. Progress, I suppose. And the future. I'm learning to paint, I admitted. Terrible at it, but the teacher is patient. Joined a book club that actually reads the books, thinking about volunteering at the library. Look at you building a life. Rebuilding, I corrected. Different blueprint this time. She stayed 3 days, and when she left, she hugged me tight. You survived something that would break most people, she said. Don't forget that. June brought unexpected news. Marcus Jr. called, excited. Uncle Quinn, you won't believe this. They're making a documentary about the case. Netflix wants to interview you. I declined. That chapter was closed. Let others tell the cautionary tale. More surprising was the letter that arrived in July, handwritten, no return address postmarked from Nevada. Mr. Mitchell, it read. You don't know me, but Patricia Morse was my grandmother. Not by blood, she stole my real grandmother's identity when I was young. I wanted you to know that your courage in exposing her saved others. My family has lived in fear of her for years. Thank you for ending our nightmare. May you find peace. I read it twice, then added it to my small box of meaningful papers. Proof that justice rippled outward, touching lives I'd never know. August 15th marked my 69th birthday. Frank and Susan flew down, bringing cousins and cake. We celebrated on the beach, toes in sand, watching the sunset paint the sky impossible colors. To Quinn, Frank toasted. Who proved you're never too old to fight back? To family, I countered. The kind you choose and the kind that chooses you. As they sang happy birthday, I thought about cycles. David's call that morning, brief and brittle from prison. The grandson I'd never meet because Jennifer Patricia had been a fraud. The empty chairs at life's table. But also Frank's steadfast presence, Susan's fierce protectiveness, Marcus Jr.'s regular check-ins, Sarah's friendship, the widow downstairs who'd started bringing me cookies and conversation. Life stripped of illusions, rebuilt on truth. That night alone on my balcony, I opened the letter I'd written to myself on move-in day, instructions to read on my birthday. Dear future Quinn. It began. If you're reading this, you survived. The betrayal, the loss, the starting over. I hope you've found peace. I hope you've learned to trust again carefully. I hope David has begun his redemption. I hope you've forgiven yourself for not seeing the signs sooner. Most of all, I hope you remember you are not what happened to you. You are how you responded. With courage, with dignity, with justice. Margaret would be proud. I folded the letter, returning it to its envelope. Tomorrow I'd write another to be opened next year. For now, I watched moonlight dance on water and felt something I hadn't in years. Contentment. The phone rang. My neighbor, the cookie widow. Quinn, I'm sorry to call so late, but there's a full moon rising over the Gulf. Thought you might want to see it from the beach. I smiled. Give me 5 minutes. Life I was learning didn't end with betrayal. It just changed direction. And sometimes, if you were lucky and brave and willing, it led you exactly where you needed to be. Walking to meet her, I paused at Margaret's photo on my bookshelf. Still keeping my promises, sweetheart. Living well. The best revenge of all. Outside, the moon hung like a promise over endless water. I quickened my pace, eager to see what tomorrow might bring. Because I'd learned the most important lesson of all: every ending was also a beginning. You just had to be brave enough to turn the page. The end. Dear friends, as I share this story with you, I can't help but wonder, have you ever discovered a shocking betrayal by someone you trusted completely? How did you find the strength to move forward? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of your own family experiences, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to hear more stories about resilience, justice, and the power of standing up for yourself. Share this with someone who needs to remember that it's never too late to fight back against those who would take advantage of our trust. Thank you for listening. And remember, true family isn't about blood. It's about loyalty. Stay strong, stay wise, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. Until next time, this is Quinn reminding you that justice may sometimes be delayed, but it should never be denied.